Welcome to my Chanel Soft Feminine. I still remember the exact second my breath stopped. It was late. Too late for curiosity to feel innocent. The house was quiet in that dangerous way, the kind where every small sound feels amplified, like it might expose you. I stood alone in her room, the soft yellow light casting long shadows across the floor, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. And there it was.
Hey, look at this one!
That's what I told myself.
It's perfect for
I was just standing
you,
there,
don't you think?
My hand hovered over the handle, fingers trembling like they already knew what they were about to do. Don't, my mind warned. I opened it anyway. A rush of color greeted me. Soft fabrics, delicate cuts, clothes that carried a presence completely different from anything I owned. My chest tightened. My mouth went dry. This wasn't just clothing. It felt like stepping into someone else's world. Just look, I whispered to myself. That's all. My fingers brushed against a top, light, smooth, almost warm. The sensation sent a shiver straight through me. I pulled it out slowly, holding it up against myself without meaning to. In the mirror beside the wardrobe, I saw something that made my stomach flip. Not disgust, not fear. Curiosity. Before I could overthink it, I slipped it over my head. The fabric settled against my skin, hugging me in a way my clothes never had. I froze. My reflection stared back at me, eyes wide, lips slightly parted. I didn't recognize myself, and that terrified me and thrilled me. This isn't real, I muttered, stepping closer to the mirror. My hands smoothed the fabric down instinctively, like my body already knew what to do. My shoulders looked softer. My posture changed without permission. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just looking at myself. I was seeing myself. A sharp spike of fear hit me then. What if someone walks in? What if this means something? My pulse raced, but I couldn't bring myself to take it off. Because standing there, dressed in something that wasn't meant for me, I felt strangely right, and that realization scared me more than anything else ever had. The next morning, I woke up with the echo of last night still clinging to my skin. For a few seconds, I didn't remember where I was. Then it hit me. The wardrobe, the mirror, the way my heart had raced when I saw myself like that. My chest tightened instantly. I sat up in bed, rubbing my face, half expecting to feel the fabric again. But I was back in my own clothes. And somehow that felt worse. In the bathroom, I avoided my reflection at first. I brushed my teeth while staring at the wall, like the mirror had personally betrayed me. When I finally glanced up, the face looking back felt dull, flattened. The spark from last night was gone, replaced by something heavy and uncomfortable. You're being stupid, I told myself. It was just curiosity. But curiosity doesn't linger like this. At breakfast, she was already there, scrolling on her phone, sipping coffee like nothing in the world had changed. I watched her without meaning to. The way her sleeves slid down her arms. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear. Normal things. Ordinary things. Except now they burned. You're quiet today, she said casually, not looking up. Didn't sleep much, I replied too quickly. She nodded, unconcerned. But I felt exposed, like she could somehow see what I'd done. Every movement felt stiff, rehearsed. I was hyper-aware of my body, my voice, the way I took up space. When I left the house, the world felt sharper. At work, nothing had changed, and that was the problem. The same desk, the same jokes, the same expectations. I sat in my chair, adjusting my shirt for the 10th time, suddenly aware of how heavy it felt on my shoulders. Yo, you good? My coworker asked, spinning his chair toward me. You look like you're about to confess something. I forced a laugh. Just tired. But the words felt hollow. Throughout the day, my mind drifted in ways it never had before. I noticed how some women moved, how they sat, how they gestured when they talked. I caught my reflection in the dark screen of my phone and felt a strange disappointment. That's not who you saw last night. During lunch, a group nearby laughed loudly. One of them glanced at me for half a second longer than necessary. My stomach flipped.
Do they know? Can they tell?
The paranoia followed me everywhere. On the bus ride home, I crossed my legs without thinking, then immediately uncrossed them, heart racing. My own body felt like it was betraying me, acting on instincts I didn't know I had. At home, I shut myself in the spare room and sat on the bed, hands clenched in my lap. "What is wrong with me?" I whispered. The answer didn't come. Just the memory of fabric against skin. The way my shoulders had relaxed. The way my eyes had looked in the mirror. Dinner was worse. Family chatter filled the room, but I felt disconnected, like I was watching everything through glass. When someone cracked a joke about men needing to act like men, my fork paused midair. Laughter followed. I laughed too. A second late. My chest burned with something close to shame, but deeper than that was fear. Not of being caught, of being seen. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment. The way I'd felt alive. The way normal life now felt like a performance I didn't remember auditioning for. Sleep came slowly, and when it did, I dreamed of mirrors. I waited 3 days. 3 long, restless days where every normal moment felt fake, like I was acting in a version of my life that no longer fit. I went to work. I smiled at the right times. I answered questions. But inside, something was pulling at me constantly, quiet, persistent, impossible to ignore. The house was empty again when it finally happened. I knew at the moment I heard the door close behind her, the sound echoing through the hallway. My chest tightened automatically, not with panic this time, but anticipation. I stood still for a few seconds, listening. Silence. Real silence. My feet moved before my mind could catch up. Her room felt familiar now, not forbidden in the same way. The air still smelled like her, soft, comforting. I closed the door gently, almost respectfully, like I was asking permission. "Just explore," I whispered to myself. "That's all." The wardrobe opened smoothly this time. No hesitation. No trembling hands. I scanned the clothes more carefully now, actually seeing them. Textures. Shapes. Possibilities. I chose slowly, deliberately, letting instinct guide me instead of fear. A skirt first. Pulling it on sent a rush through me so strong I had to sit down for a moment. The fabric rested against my legs, light and freeing. I stood up and took a step, then another. The movement felt different, natural in a way I hadn't expected. I added a blouse next, buttoning it carefully, fingers brushing my own skin. Every small action felt intimate, like I was learning a language my body already understood. I stood in front of the mirror. This time, I didn't flinch. My posture shifted without effort. My shoulders dropped. My hips settled into a stance that felt right. I tilted my head, watching how the neckline framed my collarbone. A strange smile tugged at my lips before I even noticed it forming. Wow. I breathed. It wasn't about pretending to be her. It wasn't even about being feminine in some exaggerated way. It was about alignment, like 2 versions of me were finally overlapping. I moved to the vanity next, heart pounding but steady. The makeup didn't scare me anymore.
I
opened drawers, lined things up, experimented. I messed up. I fixed it. I learned. Mascara made my eyes feel bigger, more expressive. Lip color changed my entire face. Each small adjustment revealed something new, something closer to the image in my head. I leaned closer to the mirror, whispering, "Is this really me?" The answer came not as words, but as calm. I practiced walking slowly at first, then more confidently. I practiced my voice, lowering it, softening it, finding a place that felt authentic rather than forced. I talked to myself, laughed at myself, corrected myself. Hours passed unnoticed. For the first time in my life, I wasn't rushing to become someone else. I was uncovering someone who had been waiting. When I finally sat on the bed, smoothing the skirt over my legs, a wave of emotion hit me so suddenly it stole my breath. My eyes burned. My throat tightened. "I didn't know," I whispered. "I didn't know this was possible." Fear still lived in me.
Of course it did.
Fear of judgment. Fear of consequences. Fear of what this meant for everything I thought I knew about myself. But something else lived there now, too.
Joy.
And joy is powerful. Taking everything off later felt bittersweet. I folded the clothes carefully, treating them like something precious. When I looked at myself one last time, back in my usual clothes, the reflection felt incomplete. But I wasn't panicking anymore, because now I knew. And knowing changes everything. The first time I left the house like that, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not violently, just enough to remind me that this was real now. That I wasn't hiding behind a locked door or a mirror that only answered to me. I stood in front of the hallway mirror, adjusting my outfit for the 5th time, heart thudding so loudly I was sure the neighbors could hear it through the walls. I looked subtle. That had been intentional. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that screamed for attention. Just a soft sweater, fitted jeans that actually fit me in a way I'd never felt before, simple shoes. Light makeup, barely noticeable unless you were looking closely. My hair brushed neatly into place. I looked like someone who belonged outside. And that terrified me. My hand hovered over the door handle. You can still stop, my mind whispered. You can take it off. Go back. Pretend none of this ever happened. But another voice, quieter, steadier, answered back. If you don't go now, you never will. I opened the door. The cool air hit my face, grounding me instantly. The street looked exactly the same as it always had, cars parked unevenly, a dog barking somewhere, distant traffic humming like a heartbeat. The world hadn't changed. I had. Every step felt deliberate. I was hyper-aware of how I walked, how my arms moved, how my body occupied space. At first, it felt like learning to walk all over again. But after a few blocks, something strange happened. I relaxed. My shoulders dropped. My breathing slowed. My steps found a rhythm that felt natural instead of forced. I wasn't performing anymore. I was adapting.
People passed me.
Some glanced briefly. Most didn't look at all. No one stopped me. No one laughed. No one pointed. The absence of disaster felt almost unreal. I ducked into a small store. Nothing special, just a place I'd been 100 times before. The bell chimed as I walked in, and my heart jumped. The cashier smiled. Hi. That was it. Just hi. I nodded back, murmuring a greeting, my voice steadier than I expected. I wandered the aisle slowly, touching items I didn't need, just giving myself time to exist in that space. My reflection flickered in the freezer doors as I passed, and instead of panic, I felt pride. I'm doing this, I thought. I'm actually doing this. At the counter, I placed my items down carefully, hands no longer shaking. The cashier rang them up without hesitation, without confusion. When I left, the bell chimed again, and I realized I was smiling. Really smiling. The walk home felt lighter. My body felt lighter. Like I'd been carrying a weight my whole life and had finally set it down, even if just for a moment. Over the next few weekends, I pushed a little further each time. A coffee shop, a quiet park, a bookstore where I lingered far longer than necessary. Each outing added something new: confidence, familiarity, comfort. I learned what clothes made me feel strong instead of exposed, what movements felt authentic instead of rehearsed, what parts of myself I wanted to show and which I wanted to protect. There were awkward moments too. A double take from a stranger, a pause before someone spoke, a question in someone's eyes that went unasked. Each time my chest tightened, but I didn't run. Because every time I stayed, every time I chose not to shrink, something inside me grew. I wasn't just experimenting anymore. I was becoming. And somewhere along the way, fear stopped being the loudest voice in my head. I should have known it wouldn't stay mine forever. That secret, so carefully folded, so gently hidden, was never meant to survive real life. Because real life has a way of knocking when you're finally starting to feel safe. It happened on an ordinary day. That's what makes it worse. I came home earlier than usual, heart still buzzing from the confidence I'd felt outside. I'd gone out dressed the way I now preferred. Nothing extreme, nothing loud, but enough that I felt whole. My steps were lighter as I unlocked the door, already thinking about changing, about slipping back into something comfortable. The house wasn't empty. Her shoes were by the door. My stomach dropped. For a split second, I considered turning around, pretending I'd forgotten something, delaying the inevitable. But the door was already open.
She was already there.
In the living room, she called out casually. I stepped inside slowly, every nerve screaming. I hadn't changed yet. I hadn't prepared. I stood there, exposed in the most honest way possible, not just by what I was wearing, but by what it meant. She looked up. The moment stretched. Her eyes moved over me, not scanning, not judging, just taking me in. I felt naked under that gaze, even though I was fully dressed. My heart hammered so hard I thought I might actually faint. "Oh," she said softly. That single word shattered me. I can explain." I rushed out, words tripping over each other. "I wasn't trying to. This isn't a joke. I didn't mean to." She stood up slowly, raising a hand.
Hey.
"Breathe." I tried.
Failed.
Tried again. Silence filled the room, thick and unbearable. My mind raced through every possible outcome: anger, ridicule, rejection, being told to leave, being told to stop. I braced myself for all of it. Instead, she asked, "How long?" The question was calm, almost gentle. "A while," I admitted, voice shaking. I didn't plan for it to happen. It just did. She studied my face, then really studied it. Not the clothes. Not the makeup.
Me.
"You look scared," she said. "I am," I whispered, "because I don't know how to go back." The words surprised both of us. She exhaled slowly and sat back down. "Sit," she said. I obeyed, hands clenched tightly in my lap, like I was waiting for a verdict. "Are you hurting anyone?" she asked.
No.
"Are you forcing this on anyone?"
No.
"Does this make you feel more like yourself?" I hesitated. Every instinct told me this was the point where honesty could cost me everything. "Yes," I said. "More than anything ever has." Her shoulders relaxed slightly. "Then why would I want to take that away from you?" The tension broke all at once. My chest heaved, and before I could stop myself, tears spilled over. I covered my face, shame crashing into relief so violently it made my head spin. "I was so scared," I choked. "I thought you'd hate me." She moved closer, her voice steady. "I don't hate you. I hate that you felt like you had to hide." That was it. That was the moment. The choice I'd been avoiding, the one between disappearing back into the version of me everyone expected, or standing fully in the one I was becoming, rose up in front of me, clear and unavoidable. I lowered my hands from my face. "I can't go back," I said quietly. "Even if it costs me things." She nodded. "Then don't." For the first time, the decision didn't feel like a loss. It felt like freedom. Something shifted after that conversation. Not overnight. Not magically. But deeply, like a bone finally setting after being broken for years without anyone noticing. The next morning, I didn't wake up with dread. That alone felt revolutionary. I stood in front of the mirror longer than usual, not to inspect flaws or rehearse normalcy, but to check in with myself. I asked a question I'd never dared to ask before. How do I want to show up today? The answer came easily. I dressed with intention this time. Not secrecy. Not apology. I chose clothes that felt honest, soft but strong, subtle but undeniably mine. When I stepped into the living room, she looked up and smiled. "You look good," she said simply. Not brave. Not different. Not confusing. Just good. Something unclenched in my chest. The world didn't suddenly become kinder. That was the surprising part. Nothing dramatic happened. People didn't line up to congratulate me. Life continued, with all its noise, awkwardness, and sharp edges. But I had changed how I met it. At work, I stopped shrinking. I didn't announce anything, didn't demand understanding, but I didn't hide either. I spoke when I had something to say. I let my hands move naturally. I stopped correcting myself mid-gesture. A coworker raised an eyebrow once. Another hesitated before using my name. Someone else avoided eye contact entirely. And still I stayed. Each moment I didn't retreat felt like reclaiming territory inside myself. Outside of work, I found spaces where I could breathe. Communities I'd only watched from a distance before. People who understood, without needing explanations. With them, I laughed louder. I stood taller. I experimented without fear of being wrong. The first time someone complimented my outfit, a genuine compliment, I nearly cried. Because it wasn't about the clothes. It was about being seen. I learned my boundaries too. Learned when to protect myself. Learned that empowerment wasn't about never feeling afraid, it was about not letting fear make my decisions anymore. One evening, as I walked home under soft streetlights, I caught my reflection in a shop window. I stopped. Not because I was startled. Because I was proud. I looked like someone who had survived themselves and chosen honesty anyway. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that first moment again. The wardrobe door. The trembling hands. The fear that felt bigger than me. I remember how convinced I was that opening it would destroy my life. But the truth is, it saved it. I didn't become someone new. I didn't lose myself. I didn't betray the person I used to be. I finally understood them. That quiet discomfort. That restlessness. That feeling of always playing a role without knowing why. All of it was trying to lead me here. To honesty. To courage. To a version of myself that doesn't flinch at mirrors anymore. There are still hard days. Days when the world feels heavy. Days when I wish I could blend in, disappear, go unnoticed. But even on those days, I know something I didn't before. I know who I am. And that knowledge is powerful. If you're watching this and your heart feels tight, if you've ever stood in front of a door, literal or metaphorical, afraid of what might happen if you open it, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken for being curious. You are not weak for wanting more. You are not wrong for becoming yourself. Transformation isn't about clothes or labels or mirrors. It's about permission. Permission to feel. Permission to explore. Permission to exist as you truly are. For me, it started in her wardrobe, but it ended in my own skin. And I've never felt more at home.